Good evening. Welcome to Grand Blanc Township Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, January 10th. If we could all rise for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Robertson, may you call the roll?
I would be happy to, Mr. Supervisor. Trustee Hugo?
Here.
Trustee Fike?
Here.
Trustee Raridan is absent. Trustee White?
Here.
Treasurer Kilmer?
Here.
Myself, here. Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
6 members present, a quorum.
Thank you. And now I will entertain a motion for an approval of the agenda. Motion by Trustee Fike,
Motion by Fike,
support by Trustee White.
support by White. Trustee Raridan is absent. Okay. Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Fike?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you. And now for public comments, we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Please, if you can state your name and address, that'd be great.
Fill out a card, perhaps, if they're
Sure, if
in a
you'd wish
position to
to.
do so. We have these public comment cards.
Sure. Anybody wish to make public comment?
Okay.
Okay. Seeing no public comment at this time, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. At this time, we have on the agenda special recognition of a number of police officers, both promotions and new officers. And we would like to ask you to please come forward, and we're going to make a line right across the front here, along with the chief.
Sorry.
There's a little bit of a delay there. Huh?
I've got the thing up.
You might want to get up there with the book.
Well, okay. I would be delighted. Bear with me just a moment. Okay.
Yes. Yes, okay, make sure you speak directly in the mic.
I will do my very best, Mr. Supervisor. Okay. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. Okay. If first of all, I'm delighted to be here, delighted to perform this ceremony. If you would all raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of police officer in and for the Township of Grand Blanc, County of Genesee, and the State of Michigan, according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations. All righty, very good. I'll turn it over to you, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So I will perform the badge ceremony of this portion of the meeting today. But before we begin, I'd like to recognize the friends and families of these officers that stand before you today. So thank you very much for lending us your loved ones. I know it's not easy. So the sacrifices that you have gave provided us an opportunity to build our family for just that little bit of sacrifice that you guys do. I know it's a lot on your minds, as especially with the temperature of the law enforcement climate today. However, I could assure you that we will do everything that we can to send your loved ones home with you. They have undergone a rigorous field training program, and we're going to provide them with the very best training around in Genesee County. I could assure you that for sure. So thank you. To you guys, it's an honor to be a police officer. It's more of an honor to be a Grand Blanc Township police officer. Due to our reputation of being an outstanding agency, 2 of the 4 of these officers have came from other very reputable agencies throughout the state of Michigan. It's in part to our recruitment efforts, very strong. They're out there in the field monthly trying to recruit officers, and as everybody knows, right now it's very difficult to recruit officers, but it hasn't been that difficult for Grand Blanc Township due to your efforts. So tonight I would like to honor the newest members and 2 promotional members of the Grand Blanc Township Police Department by doing this badge ceremony pinning. The police badge represents the willingness to sacrifice one's safety to assist others. This Grand Blanc Township badge, however, represents our core values: integrity, compassion, courage, honesty, respect, and fairness. So be proud of who you are and what you represent. Wear this badge with honor and those who came before you. So first off, promotional. I'm going to recognize the first promotion is Lieutenant Tom McCoy. If you could step forward. So the date of promotion for Lieutenant McCoy was December 14th, 2022. He is an 18-year veteran of the Grand Blanc Township Police Department. He holds a bachelor's degree from Lake Superior State. Throughout Lieutenant McCoy's career, he has held many special assignments and has developed these leadership skills. These assignments include he's a narcotics investigator with FANG, which is Flint Area Narcotics Group. He was an FTO, or a field training officer, defensive tactics instructor, taser instructor, firearms instructor, and also worked in the computer forensic investigations. Lieutenant McCoy believes in continuous improvement as he has continued to build on his leadership skills by attending leaders in police organizations, and also attended and graduated the Michigan State University School of Staff and Command. In Lieutenant McCoy's new role, he will oversee all patrol division activities. I am going to pin the badge on Lieutenant McCoy today. I'm not doing the rest. Lieutenant Schwartz, step forward. So as I go throughout this, like I said, I'm not going to do any more badge pinnings. So I'm going to ask the next representatives to call up a person of their choosing to do the badge pinning. Let me talk about Lieutenant Schwartz here just for a minute. His date of promotion was yesterday, January 9th, 2023. Lieutenant Schwartz is a 20-year veteran of the Grand Blanc Township Police Department, holds an associate's degree from Mott Community College, and is currently enrolled at Madonna University to obtain his bachelor's degree. Lieutenant Schwartz has been heavily involved in developing relationships throughout the Grand Blanc community, and especially the Grand Blanc youth. He's been a middle school football coach, and he's also been a school resource officer at Middle School East. Lieutenant Schwartz has also held many special assignments that has developed his leadership skills. These ones include school resource officer, also a field training officer, ALICE instructor, active shooter instructor, CPR first aid instructor, fair and impartial policing instructor, and a recruiting supervisor. So when I talked about recruiting, here is your supervisor that's responsible for bringing in a lot of our new officers. Lieutenant Swartz recently went through leadership in police organizations training, and his goal is to continue to gain professional knowledge and experience to obtain additional leadership roles. In his new role, Lieutenant Swartz will oversee the Support Services Division, which includes the Detective Bureau, Dispatch, and the Evidence and Property Room. Sarah. All right. Officer Methner. With COVID that happened several years ago, we did not have quite the opportunity that we have today to do this in person. I know at the board meeting about a month ago, we swore in several officers who did not have that opportunity. However, Officer Methner had a prior engagement as her sister, congratulations to you, was doing her master's thesis at the university where she attended. So, as you know, Officer Methner, she looks familiar to many out here and in the community. She holds a bachelor's degree from Ferris State University, where she also attended the police academy. She's assigned to the patrol division and also our recruiting team. So she's frequently seen in the community, as I said, and she's always one of the first ones to volunteer her time, whether it's National Night Out, Camp Safety, on her own time. Officer Methner is doing this. So your career goals, as I found out the other day, is to be a motorcycle officer. So Officer Methner, I will ask you to call up a person of your own choosing. Yeah, introduce her.
This is my mom. Her name's Tammy.
Oh, that's cute.
Officer Buttrell. Officer Buttrell's date of hire was December 7th, 2022. Officer Buttrell came to us with 4 years law enforcement experience, where he was his department's defensive tactics instructor, taser instructor, and also a field training officer. At his previous department, he was assigned to the Drug Task Force, where he worked as an analyst for LawNet. He holds an associate's degree from West Shore Community College. One thing that's unique about Officer Buttrell is he also serves our country currently, as he's active in the National Guard. Officer Buttrell's career goal is to be the best professional law enforcement officer he can be, no matter what role he is in. So we're looking forward to having you on the team.
Thanks, sir.
So David, if you want to call up and introduce.
Wife Haley.
Okay. Thank you. Officer Smith. Many of you may have seen Officer Smith, or if you had called in to the Grand Blanc Township Police Department, you may recognize his voice, as Officer Smith had actually worked for our police department since December 20th of 2018 as a dispatcher. Ironically, 4 years later, I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't.
Once I looked it up, as 4 years later, we swore him in as a police officer on December 20th, 2022. So Officer Smith had just graduated from the Lerda Police Academy in December. The very next day, we had him on the police force. He holds an associate's degree from Mott Community College, and his goal is to pursue a degree in emergency management. So Jacob, we're looking forward to all the great things to come in your future, and we thank you for what you've already done to our police department. So thank you. And if you would introduce and call up the person. Okay.
We've got a first aid kit.
There you go.
And Officer Wynn, step forward. Officer Wynn's date of hire was December 27th, 2022. Officer Wynn had also graduated from the Alerta Police Academy back in 2017. After he graduated from the Alerta Police Academy, he actually had worked for the Genesee County Sheriff's Department where he was a paramedic. So we have a certified paramedic on our staff. So thank you. Also, Officer Wynn was the Genesee County Sheriff's Department's Raider instructor, which involves active shooter within the school. So his career goal is to become a K-9 handler and be promoted to sergeant. So we will look forward to all the stuff that you have to bring us, and thank you for being on our team also, Ronnie. Yep. Sir, if you want to introduce him?
Yeah, that's my dad, Rod Senior, and my little man, Kason.
You want me to hold him?
Oh, that's okay.
It's tough.
There we go.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you to the board for allowing us the opportunity to honor these fine men and women today. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be able to be here, sitting behind the dais with all these swearing in. So let's keep them coming, Chief. All right. Yes. We'll take a couple of minute break. I know not everybody wants to stick around for the rest of the meeting, and we'll let you exit the meeting room, and then feel free to gather in the entry area if you'd like. You can slide those doors open back there too if you need more space. So we'll allow you a few minutes if you want. Otherwise, stick around if you want to see the rest of our meeting.
Promises to be exciting.
Amazingly enough, no one ever takes us up on
I
that.
know.
Yeah.
Which is surprising because what we do is so exciting.
It's riveting.
And, you know,
It's a vote of confidence that they trust that we're not screwing up.
Actually, that's a good way to look at it.
They were probably way busier a few years ago. More people here, so how did that work out?
Yep. Yeah. That's also true.
It's nice not getting yelled at.
Right? Well, we did have some serious catching up to do for the lack of being able to do the badge pinning with COVID and everything. I think we're mostly caught up. It's tough because of the amount of people who.
Because the crowd is all police officers.
Yeah.
Former Chief Wiles said, like, when he went in, there was like 2 openings and like 75 applicants.
more.
A couple of those guys didn't look
We're
old enough,
getting recruiting teams.
I
old
know.
enough to graduate high school.
Right.
yet, you know?
I
mean,
agree.
it's like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
It's changed. There's just not that many people who want it.
Oh my gosh, that baby is so cute.
Yeah.
trouble in Davis? Yes. It's tough, man.
We did have a few people stay for the rest of the meeting.
Very good.
I missed the age where.
We'll see how we
you
do
didn't
after
want $200 shoes and
Public hearing.
$80 sweatpants.
That's our next edition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Public hearing is next.
Okay. Just wait till I close the door. Okay, I think we're ready to resume our meeting. And at this time, we will have a public hearing for Kings Point Special Assessment, roll confirmation hearing. Attorney Laddie?
Thank you. Tonight's the night where we take a look at the proposed special assessment roll, and if it meets your requirements, we can adopt the resolution that's attached herein. We noticed this hearing in the paper 2 times. We've sent a letter to the residents as well, and also, and Director Shears can correct me if I'm wrong, that the estimated dollar amount for the project has not changed. I think we've got $982,000 as the estimated project cost. And I think Director Shears was successful in getting this project recognized by the County Road Commission so that there'll be an additional contribution. I think is it 20% total? And so that's good news for the folks of Kings Point. And so unless there's other questions for me, I guess we can hear what the folks have to say, and then you can consider the resolution.
Okay.
Do you want to open the hearing, Mr. Supervisor?
Yes. Mr. Sears, this is the first special assessment district that will receive the 20%? Okay. Okay, at this time, we will open the floor for our public hearing regarding the special assessment district for Kings Point. And I just invite you to provide your name and address if you would for the record, but and we allow you up to 3 minutes to speak, so whoever would like to come forward, feel free. Don't everybody rush at once. Anybody care to speak? I see a few people look like they're anticipating speaking. Come on up if you want to say something.
Okay. I have something, Mr. Supervisor.
Oh, hold on a second. Okay, all right. Come on up. Good evening.
I just want to thank both of the Jeffs. Jeff Joyner, who's one of the board members on the Kings Point Homeowners Association, is the one that got this thing started and did a lot of work, and he deserves a lot of credit. And thanks to any of the residents that are here who signed and helped support this. What'd we get? Almost 70%? 67%. And Scott, excellent article in the winter newsletter. Thank you.
Oh, thank
Your
you.
name, sir?
I'm John Straw.
John Strong?
Straw.
Straw, S-T-R-A-W.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Straw.
And thank you for your work on our elections too, Mr. Straw. Okay, anybody else have any comments? Okay, with that, we'll close public comment, bring it back here to the board.
One moment before you do, I want I want to note for the record, I received a phone call from a Joan Dawson on Kingsshire expressing opposition to item 6A today. I want that to be noted for the record, and I'll include it in the record of the public hearing.
Thank you. 67% of the residents signed, that's pretty impressive. And again, thank you to the residents as well that circulated that. We don't take positions one way or the other on special assessment districts, but when they do make it, I'm very appreciative because it actually improves our entire township when streets are paved. You know, when they fall into disrepair, it doesn't help any of the township because it brings the value of those homes down as well as the township. So we appreciate your work and the financial investment that you're making individually in the township. With that,
Closing the hearing?
yes, we'll close the hearing.
7:24 PM.
And now we will, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Ms. Hugo, support by Mr. Fike. Yes. Is this regarding the public hearing still? Yes. Okay, all right. We'll hold up on closing the public
My
hearing.
name is Alan Ippolito. I live at 6120 King Scepter Road.
Yes.
I was also very glad to hear that it passed with the amount of percentage that it did. But basically, the reason I'm here is to find out if there's something that the remaining percentage of people that live in Kings Point can do to stop what's been cleared to go ahead.
We'll cover that topic. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, now we'll close the public hearing.
7:25 PM.
Yep.
Okay.
And we'll entertain a motion by Ms. Hugo and supported by Mr. Fike.
Motion by Hugo, supported by Fike.
For the consent agenda approval.
Consent agenda. Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Okay. We're going to get back to that special assessment in just a few agenda items here, so we'll cover, make sure we cover your concern. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about our strategic plan update and our new Department of Public Service building and fire station on our municipal campus. Mr. Liebman?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The progress has been moving just as you would expect it has on the DPW building and fire station, but it did bring up a couple of interesting points as we were reviewing the space needs assessment, and that has to do with our overall campus plan. And we decided to just step back a little bit, and Director Sears and I have pulled out the old space needs assessment that we had Daniel Redstone's company prepare for the entire campus with all departments involved, just to make sure that before we get any farther down the road on this thing, that we've had a good hard look at our long-range plan. And I think it might be an important topic for the board to consider, whether you want to form a committee or whether you want to consider it overall as a board. But what is our long-range plan for our campus? You know, we're talking about relocating DPW and the fire station, and Lord knows we need that space, you know, especially critical for the fire department at this point. And I don't want to really delay it any, but at the same time, what is this board's vision for the overall campus? As you know, it was always planned that we would build a new administration building one day. The police bond will be paid off in 2031. And so it was always planned that when the police bond was paid off, that we would consider the addition of a new administration building to replace the current armory building that we've been in for quite some time. But has that changed, and has this board really provided, you know, any thought to what that looks like 10 years from now? Are we going to be building a new administration building? If we are, is it still going to be in the vacant lot next to the police department? Kind of the vision back then was a matched building. Are we going to stay in this facility? Do we believe that we've already invested in this facility? If we're going to be here long term, as you're well aware of the HVAC issues that we need to invest in and some other things. We have invested some funds to, the upgrade to the auditorium, to the security glass, locked doors, that kind of thing. But I think it behooves us to have that conversation. And a good time to do that is this year in January, because every 6 months the board reviews their strategic plan as an overall plan and determines whether it should be tweaked or looked at or changed. This might be the golden opportunity for us this month to take a look at it and have you guys the opportunity to kind of share your vision. What do you think the township looks like 10 years from now? Are we looking at a new administration building at that point? Should I slow down for 4 weeks, just the conversation at DPS? Should that be a 2-story building? Would we ever want to have a Dort Highway address and be located over where we're building these new facilities and have one complex? I guess it just brought up a lot of questions as we were moving forward, rather than it's a DPW and fire station. And maybe that is how we move forward. It's just a DPW and fire station building. We need the space for those two things. But as we started having those conversations, I just thought it was really important that we as staff heard from you guys on, should this be something we should talk about? Do you want us to just move forward with DPW and fire, or should we take a step back for a few weeks and really have a conversation, not right down to the nitty-gritty of planning it out, but what are the thoughts? What is our long-range plan for our administration?
Dennis, the history behind this building is it used to be a police department. Was it Armory at one time or something?
It was an armory. We moved in the 80s, or late 70s, early 80s. David, do you remember?
I don't. It's been a
Late
while.
70s, and it was an armory building. It was designed as an armory building, but it's got high ceilings, and we've put walls up and taken walls down and adjusted over the years as we've accommodated it. It used to be the police station, and the finance and administration wing of this building was all the police department. So from behind us, the roll call room was back there in conference room D, and that was all police department until 2007 when they moved into the new facility. And I think everybody just kind of knew that we would outgrow this facility and move out one day. But has that changed? Are we,
One thing that we did with the library is that, we were looking at that and saying, gosh, there's all these different little things need to be constantly fixed. I know you brought in a couple of engineers to look at that building to say, is this building worth putting some money into? And what is the long-term plan for this building? What is it that we're going to need over the course of the next 10 years? Is it worth putting in new HVAC? Is it worth new carpeting, all this kind of thing? And it might behoove us to even have this building looked at. I know there's some concerns with some of not just the HVAC, but maybe even, some of the way this thing was designed might not be the healthiest either. To look at the long term of this building, to just give us kind of an idea that, what an engineer's perspective would be on this building as far as, rather than finding out 5 years from now that, oh yeah, we're going to need to replace this building. Well, we know now maybe we're not going to replace it for 10 years, but at least we can start making the plans for it and making sure we set aside some money for that. And maybe even it changes how we develop, the campus too. If we know that in 10 years we're going to have a new building going up, well, where is it going to be? And are we going to use this building for an alternative use? We're talking about doing some things along the Point North Business District here between Maple Road and, let's say, Hill, a little bit south. But maybe there's some need for the building here that we haven't envisioned that, maybe there's something on the north part of the township that we need for residents here that we haven't really thought of. So I think it's a worthy discussion. I wouldn't hold up too much on the fire department building. I know that we probably can move forward on, but the DPS building, maybe, I don't know, that's my thoughts. I don't know what the other board members think, but Mr. Fite?
I think I agree with that. 10 years, it just seems like such a long time. When fire moves out of here and goes over there, will that free up a lot of space in this building?
Well, yes and no, but really what they occupy is that big garage. I mean, we envisioned that when that occurred, that was probably going to end up being some cold storage and parking for, potentially like the fleet vehicles and things, not so much office space. When the mechanics move out, when DPS building moves, the mechanics are going to occupy the old DPW barns, and those are going to be converted for the mechanics use. Freeing up that area frees up quite a bit of square footage, which would allow us to take the walls out from where the building department is now and bring those back, and we can pick up considerable space in the old mechanics area, which is probably more critical. One thing, like the clerk's office needs, they really need to expand their space for security for elections. With the election laws changing, the amount of AV ballots now that are issued and collected, they just need secure space. And that's one of the biggest critical needs I face is how can I help them in the short term? And that's where the DPS comes in is, man, once they're out, the mechanics can go, and then we can we get to put it up. So it is a puzzle in here, and it's a great question, Joel, because it really is a puzzle where we've, like I said, we put up walls, we've taken down walls, we've shifted office space, because we really are in a great big, high block wall box in here. Everything else is an illusion of when the walls have come in and gone.
So you kind of need to know now, you think, before you proceed with the whole thing that's going on over there?
I think if you guys got together and had the conversation, and the general consensus came to be that, you know what, we want to keep our options open of, we are going to probably build a new facility, or you know what, we're pretty sure we're staying in this facility, that would be all we would need, because if I know we're staying here, that changes what we may consider for configuration. If it was like, well, make sure you leave enough space in that lot back there that we can add a facility on later, so we're again all in one spot, that we're going to be attached to the DPW and fire station. That would that changes the configuration on that lot. If I'm trying to save spot for 15,000, just a block outline, 15,000 square feet for administration. And I think when we did the space needs assessment, we were about 20,000 square feet as a projected out. You know, what would we need for 25 to 30 years projected out? They had 20,000 square feet. Some of that looked redundant to me, a lot of conference rooms, a lot of storage. As we move more and more to electronic storage, we don't need that cold storage space. So I'm thinking probably more like a 15,000 square foot design for administration.
Clerk Robertson?
Yeah, I think you may have already answered my question, but do we have the space on the property that we own to build another building?
Theoretically, there are some wetlands that, you know, that's my concern, is we started looking at, we're having those wetlands delineated right now. And so if I need to put a 15,000 square foot building, if that's kind of what our thought was, that one day that might be where we want to go, then I would shift the fire department, I'd shift everything that is planned right now closer to the service drive that comes in off of Dort, to make sure I'm leaving enough room for that extra block of building.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Yes, Ms. Hugo?
If you were to build a new facility, has there been any discussion of what this building might become, or would this building still remain? Or what would we do with the property?
So I think the board would have a lot of options. Would we be able to lease it out as office space? Would there be a need for it, potentially? Again, you could turn it into a community center. Would it be the idea that we need the room for some type of community center where you could hold events? You could put the ceiling's high enough, you could probably put a gymnasium in here as part of a community center operation. Would we have an expansion for senior services? There's a lot of options that you could look at over that course of time and say, does that make sense? Is it viable? Does it make more sense because of the age of the building to knock it down and this becomes park space for the north end with walking trails throughout the entire campus? I mean, there's possibilities.
Have we had any engineering studies of the building to see what, the life of this building, what life is left in it, or?
If we did, it would have been before my time.
Okay.
And again, I don't want to delay the project necessarily.
Right.
But it occurred to me that, the thinking from the board at that time was that when we went to build an administration building, that it would be in the lot next to the police department. And maybe that's still a very great viable option. If you guys think that that is part of our long-range plan, that makes sense, then we can proceed as we're going, and that's okay. But, I just thought, man, a lot of things have changed since they were first planning out the campus back in 2005 or whenever they did it.
I think it's worthy of having a small group look at it a little bit closer and maybe ask a few more questions and investigate it.
I'd like more information.
Consensus?
Yeah.
Discuss it further.
I mean,
Maybe
10
we'll
years, theoretically, none of us would be here. Scott would be governor by then, probably. Small joke.
Well, you might be.
No.
So let's put together a committee of 3 or 4 of us and discuss a little bit further over the next couple of weeks and bring it back to the board.
Again, I know I hate to put pressure, the clock's ticking, and we've got architects working and stuff, but before I gave them the green light to go ahead, I thought, man, we should at least have this conversation with the board, because it's important that you guys, what's your vision for, what does it look for you for 10 years from now?
I think we can address your concerns fairly quickly, and then I think we can do that in the next few weeks.
Thank you.
So anybody who wants to serve on that committee, okay? Joel, okay. Looks like everybody except for
Yeah.
Paul. So.
Well, you don't have to choose, man.
Then it becomes a board meeting.
Right.
Yeah, we gotta.
We will schedule a meeting, and maybe before you leave tonight, we'll set up a time.
Mr. Supervisor, one more thing before you move on the strategic plan update. Again, we generally review it every 6 months, January and July. What's the board's preference? Do you want to, do you think you need a work session to review where we're at with the strategic plan now? Would you prefer to do it at the meeting in 2 weeks? We're prepared for whatever the board's prepared to do.
Any thoughts from board members? Paul? Mr. White?
I think we could do it the next meeting. I don't know if we're that far.
From where we need to be.
Right. So.
Okay. Sarah, you okay with that, Ms. Hugo?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Kilmer?
Depends on when you pick, but yeah.
Okay. Well, let's stick with the next board meeting then, and we'll
Okay.
go through it. Mr. Lehman. And maybe, I don't know, we can send out another copy to everybody where we're at. And
Yep, we will do that. We're going to have a staff meeting tomorrow morning. We're going to review with staff on progress, have everybody update those grids from where we're at. We'll put the whole package together again and submit that out to the board members.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you. Under new business, the board will consider Resolution 23-3, which adopts the special assessment role for the Kings Point repaving project. And we had a concern, Mr. Laddie, with regard to individuals that may wish to stop this special assessment district. What would be required of them?
We did. Mr. Little asked the question of at this point, what could be done to stop the project if somebody wanted to? And the answer is that the only thing that will hold this project up from this point on, first of all, is the schedule of the Genesee County Road Commission. The second issue could possibly be if the bid costs actually exceeded our last estimate of $982,000, actually minus 20%, so closer to $750,000, then we would have to have a second cost hearing, which is what we had tonight. So the district's already been created, and it will not be dissolved unless you take specific action to dissolve it. And a role has been approved by you, and we'll move forward without the ability to be interrupted by anybody. Again, with the caveat that if we do encounter additional expenses, we will have an additional cost hearing. And at that time, you as the board could decide to take a different direction if you want. But at this point in time, it is a full green light, and don't expect any bumps in the road. So if you're in favor of the project, the good news is it's very certainly moving in that direction. If you are opposed to it, then you've got a real uphill climb.
Okay, any questions, concerns? 67% is pretty steep vote in favor of moving forward, so
That may be a record, frankly. I mean,
that's what I was wondering.
That's
if
pretty high.
It's one of the highest ones I've seen. Okay, so you
Make the motion.
Okay, Mr. White makes the
White
motion,
makes the motion,
supported by Ms. Hugo.
supported by Hugo. Trustee White,
Yes.
Trustee Fike,
Yes. Trustee
Hugo,
Yes.
myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
All right, great job, our residents in Kings Point. Okay, item B, the board will consider a motion to approve the Innovize InfoCare license and subscription renewal for $23,525.60 and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related contracts and documents. Mr. Sears?
Good evening, everyone. This approval tonight is for Innovize Software, which is the main platform we use in the DPW for asset management. So we track all of the conditions of our water and sewer assets in that program, and we also do our water and sewer modeling in that program. So we track the capacity of the system. Anytime there's any development or construction, we use that software to basically tell us, make sure there's enough water and sewer capacity for that project, so that we can move it forward without interruption in service to anybody else. It's an annual renewal, standard.
Much of an increase from last year?
3%. There's a 3% increase.
This is an ongoing expense?
Yes,
It is.
annually, correct. So 3% increase from last year. Okay, Ms. Hugo makes the motion, supported by Mr. Fike.
Hugo motion, Fike support. Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Item C, the board will consider Resolution 23-1 to approve the Genesee County Act 342 stormwater contract to allow the Genesee County Drain Commissioner to act as our NDPES agent and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related contracts and documents.
So for about the first 6 years of my tenure at the township, I worked with Jack Wheatley from Rowe to obtain what we call an MS4 permit for our township campus. And basically what that allows us to do is to take all of our stormwater that we collect from our parking lots and buildings and drain it into a public waterway, which is on the Playland property. With that permit, there is extensive reporting and testing and work that we have to do around the campus. It includes sweeping the parking lot, inspecting all of the drains and outfalls monthly to make sure that there's no contamination going into that waterway. And there is a lot of technical reporting that has to be done. I've been keeping up with it, but the state of Michigan has put some more increasingly difficult regulations on it, where it's become a task for us to where we should think about letting the professionals that do this on a daily basis handle it. Genesee County, we actually used to be part of the stormwater group with Genesee County. Back in the early 2000s, we had a DPW director here who was a professional engineer and did this stuff for a living before he came here. So he decided he wanted to take this over from Genesee County. Well, he's now gone, and I'm doing it. So Genesee County does this for most of the communities throughout the county. And I would recommend we go back to doing that so that we don't miss a beat on this at all, and make sure that they're really doing a thorough job for us.
Yes, Mr.
Will it cost anything?
It does. It costs around $12,000 a year for them to do it. The alternative is to get a proposal from Rowe Engineering or something of that nature to see if they could do it for us. Just to complete all of the analytical testing of the water outfalls, and then, put together the reports for MI Eagle and the EPA.
I think we let the county do it.
It seems like the logical move to me. They've offered to do it. They've already voted to accept us back into their system, so it's a pretty straightforward process from here.
Okay, you making the motion, Mr. Fike? Okay, supported by Ms. Hugo.
Motion by Fike, support by Hugo. Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Okay, let's see here. The board will consider Resolution 23-2 approving the Township Supervisor, Scott Bennett, as a primary representative to the Genesee County Surface Water Advisory Committee, and DPS Director Jeff Sears as the alternate representative. Mr. Sears.
So related to the last action item, in order to join that committee, we become part of the advisory board for surface water management for Genesee County. They asked that we appoint a main representative and an alternate representative. Right now, Scott's the main representative to the Water and Waste Committee, and I'm the alternate. I would suggest we keep that same arrangement for the Surface Water Board. Those meetings happen right after the Water and Waste meetings, so kind of works out that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. White, Okay, Mr. White makes the
White
motion.
makes the motion, and I will support if you'll permit me.
Sure.
Okay. Very good. Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item E, the board will consider a motion to approve the proposal for the GASB 74/75 actuarial report and OPEB experience study from Foster and Foster Actuaries and Consultants in the amount not to exceed $13,200, and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related contracts and documents. Mr. Lemata?
The GASB rules, Government Accounting Standards Board, when they issue these out to us, number 74 and 75 had to do with post-employment benefits for both retiree plans, number 74, number 75 was for pension plans. What we're asking to do here is to have the actuarial reports done. We're required to do them. We have to do it every other year now is what the rules require, plus we have to do a supplemental report in the off years. So they don't do it as in-depth in the off years. They do an estimate. They're not actually rerunning all the numbers. This is Foster and Foster. It will be the second time that they're doing it. The other thing you have to do is you have to change actuaries every 7 years, I believe, when it comes to looking at your post-employment liabilities. And that was a requirement by the state, which I think makes sense, just to make sure that you don't get locked in and you're taking a look at it. Foster and Foster did a great job for us last year. This is the interim year, and then at the same time, we are asking as a part of that to do the experience study. You should do those. It's highly recommended that you do them every 5 years. I believe our last one was 2016. So it's time to do another experience study. They come in, they look at demographics and all the things that make up to make sure that we are we're using apples to apples as we create our actuarial study. So I respectfully ask the board to approve this proposal so that not to exceed $13,200. We use these reports to complete the reports, the financial reports that we have to do as part of our year-end closeout.
Any concerns, questions for Mr. Lemata? Okay.
Do you need a motion,
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Supervisor?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Support.
Supported by Ms. Hugo.
Supported by Hugo. Okay. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, future agenda items. Mr. Lemata, anything that you have on the radar for our upcoming meeting?
The only thing what I'd say is we'll be focused on bringing that strategic plan forward to you guys in the next 2 weeks. If there's anything else that somebody thinks of that they would like to have a conversation on or to add to that conversation, call me, text me, email.
Ms. Roberts, we have the Point North Business District meeting planned. The date for that? 24th? At what time? Okay, 24th at 11, so any board members wish to attend, we'd love to have you here at the township. It's going to be a smaller group. It's going to be just the people that have volunteered to serve as board members. Okay. Any board reports, Planning Commission, ZBA? Mr. Fike?
I have nothing.
Mr. Kilmer, anything? Okay. Mr. Laddie?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Lemata?
No, I mean, really, you guys, we've all been spending a lot of time together lately with lease negotiations, and we're just happy to say that I appreciate the board moving forward. Again, congratulations to the board for the second time in the history of Grand Blanc Township having a police department. You were able to come to negotiated settlement terms, moving those collective bargaining agreements forward before their expiration. That's exciting. And, it's kind of good to see, again, the turnout. We probably had half of our department here tonight to celebrate those officers, the new officers, and the promotions. We've got an amazing men and women of our police department, and again, hats off to the board. It was a tough negotiation because we moved forward and got out of the defined benefit pension plan. That's a really, really tough negotiation. Thank you to all the officers in negotiation who supported it. That's a hard thing to give up because as a recruitment and a retention tool, it's a big deal. But it also financially just became untenable for us, and it's the movement that you guys made is going to go such a long way to securing the financial future for Grand Blanc Township. Short-term pain, but long-term gain.
Well, thanks to you for bringing us to that point. I know, 10 years ago, this board wasn't even considering that as an option, and today, a week ago, we were able to negotiate that through your efforts, and I appreciate the board getting together on such short notice too, right around the holidays, and having a special meeting to talk about this at length.
It was really quick.
What's that?
It was a really quick meeting.
Yeah, right. But I appreciate you getting together during the holidays, actually a couple of times, and to close the defined benefit plan is huge, and we appreciate the cooperation of the police, like you said, Mr. Limita, and I think it's going to go a long ways to securing the future for the township financially. So it's something that had to happen, and we're glad that it happened at this negotiation. So
Very good. Is a motion to adjourn in order, Mr. Supervisor?
it is.
Then I will make that motion at 7:56 PM.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hugo supported it.
Thank you.